we interrupt this program to bring you Wolf Entertainment, starring Catastrophe, the Wolf's Bro. Welcome to Nowhere, Wolfpack. If you read the title, then you know what we're here for.
That's right! New lawn chairs!
If you've never watched our channel before, then you should know we love that iconic mystery-solving dog. No, the other one. Yeah. If Scooby wasn't top horror dog, Courage really gave Doo a run for his Scooby snacks. This saga's a classic cartoon masterpiece, which helped forge Cartoon Network into a household name. And after all these years, it still holds up its legendary status. For those somehow in the dark about this refined art, Courage is a goofy dark comedy show about a wacky talking mutt solving mysteries and saving his elderly kooky family from the supernatural. Abandoned as a pup, he was found by Muriel, who lives in the middle of nowhere with her husband Eustace Bagg. But creepy stuff happens in nowhere, so it's up to Courage to save his new home. The tune was essentially entryway horror for younger viewers, as it had the goofball nature of a wacky comedy, but also dead serious spooky monsters, and terror right out of the horror genre. Usually a monster of the week or a deadly supernatural event would cross the farm family, where that stupid dog would fight to save the day, or crack a mystery. Simple, but oh so much fun. This series is what happens when you splice together Goosebumps with the Looney Tunes. Occasional nightmare fuel and high suspense would haunt us, but Courage and his ditzy cast would also dive into zany antics to lighten the mood. Though the show did push boundaries for what kids shows could truly pull, making it unique. Courage fought monsters, hilarity ensues, insane settings grew crazier, and the best part, Eustace suffers a lot.
What a waste of good wood! Eh?
The show was ludicrous, but so enjoyable. It's become a major staple for Cartoon Network, and has never had a truly awful episode. At its weakest, a bad Courage episode was only mediocre, or just dull. It never hit total trash like My Robot or Say Cheese and Die Again, as the series had so many excellent tales of suspense, which is where Kitty Cat slashes in. There are so many epic episodes in this show that it's almost hard to lower it down to a mere top 10. What are the greatest of the great? Which all-time classics are S-rank? And which are superior between the wacky comedy trips or the grisly tales for kids? Well, that's what we're here to find out. I too am a fan of the stupid dog, and care for a little sports of recommended faves. So turn off your computer's sarcasm and get your booga booga masks on, because we're entering the spooky farm for my list. These are your beloved kitty's top 10 best Courage the Cowardly Dog tales. The things I do for love.
Stupid dog! You made me look bad!
Definitely an oddball choice, even amongst the Courage crowd, yet I find this episode so amusing to watch. Personally, I highly recommend this as the beginner's episode, for new Courage fans to watch, to see if the series is for you. Shadow of Courage mixes together the unsettling dread of a monster in the dark, along with the over-the-top zany antics, successfully well. And for a show that's mainly a horror comedy, that is a radical feat. In this plot, we actually open up with a cruel, evil, rich old man dying. Yes, somebody dies in this children's tune first season, but because he's a dick, it's actually played for laughs.
You're fired! Jennings!
He died? And this is supposed to be a kid's movie.
But the actual plot has the old crone's shadow break free, where he flies off to spread chaos by scaring the jeepers out of everybody, eventually leading him to the farmhouse, where Courage must face a Shadow Man.
I am the Shadow Man.
And simply put, the entirety of this episode is the Shadow trolling folks and wacky misunderstandings between the cast. There's quite a delightful balance between the dread and humor, as thanks to the Shadow Man being, well, hidden under shadow, we don't figure out what his game is for the longest while. The artists clearly had fun playing around with the shadow abilities, because they do some effed up visuals with the creature, leading to some insane scenes. Muriel! However, for me, this tale's also non-stop funny. For every eerie moment, there's some great comedy too.
Uh-oh, I'm gonna get strangled.
Now say uncle. Say Ow!
It's just so wild watching this unfold, and what makes it so grand is that, like many great Courage tales, you can never predict where it's going. Won't spoil everything, but there's a nice twist ending thanks to Courage taking a touching approach to handle the prob, showing that in spite of the dark, mean-spirited humor, the cowardly dog does have heart underneath as well. For me, this encompasses everything which made the show so outstanding. It's got a creepy atmosphere, a creative antagonist, some disturbing visuals, dark humor, nice surprises, and deranged fun. I still get a kick out of rewatching it all the time, because there's just so many solid gags, and gnarly imagery making it memorable. This is a classic I'd shine light on any day.
Not bad.
You know it's not a perfect list without this. Naturally, the series finale of Courage was considered a wicked farewell note to conclude on, and you can totally see why. While far from the spookiest episode of the series, Perfect has such a profound message, deep concepts, stunning art, and truly beautiful heart, which stuck with fans long after the show left the air. In this last tale of suspense, our favorite cowardly dog begins suffering heavy insecurities and depression over himself, as he starts to feel flawed and his lack of self-worth slowly consumes him. In simplest terms, Courage hates himself because he doesn't believe he's perfect or good at anything. And it only gets worse when the haunting hour's Mrs. Worthington pops up in order to force herself as Courage's life tutor. To this day, fans still debate on what Mrs. Worthington actually is. Some believe she's genuinely a real magic perfectionist, influencing Courage's life, while there's a strong theory that she might not even be real at all, but actually all a hallucination in Courage's head, acting as the personification of his inner fears and doubts about himself, slowly ruining his life. We never truly learn the truth, but it's made very clear that she's not improving the dog's fragile mental state, and only reinforcing his angst. It's shockingly a rather deep tale, which many of us relate to, as we all felt this way. Most of the tale is Courage following her bad advice and trying to be perfect, only to fail miserably every time, and questioning himself more and more. The scariest thing that occurs all episode are the dream sequences, which have some really awesome art styles and twisted visuals, which are both grim but also kind of funny. Of course, the one that stuck out in all our nightmares was the blue trumpet guy.
You're not perfect.
WTF is that? The odd CGI and creepy dead-eye mannerisms haunted so many children. The dreams were all super fun, yet added a trippy feel to this already bizarre class. However, what solidifies this as top tier is, of course, the moral, where Courage learns that nobody's perfect, but in fact, our imperfections help us create our own identity, because being who you want to be is the only way to find happiness. That's honestly a rather touching sentiment for kids to learn, which is still needed today. That Courage needs to stop listening to these literal bad influences who see no worth in him, and just be himself. It's super effective. A rather heartfelt lesson from a very strange saga full of weirdness. Definitely a cute farewell from a dog who was far from flawless. This episode's a grand finale as it left us a lesson we'd all remember. Aw yeah, now we're getting into the masterpiece horror fables. At its core, the Windmill Vandals is simply an old school haunted house story, but a rather wicked one. This has very high dramatic suspense, an unnerving atmosphere, a gritty art style which made the dark farm appear almost hellish, brutal violence, and of course, savage ghouls acting as our monsters. In this plot, the farm's source of power, the windmill, breaks down, where they need to fix it as when the windmill ceases flowing, it unleashes monstrous barbarians from hell, who seek to slaughter the machine and everyone who lives upon their former land. You see, a long time ago, these horsemen ruled the area as they had the sole source of power in the land before a farmer making his own home built the windmill to prosper without them. When a drought hit, the barbarians were left with nothing, so they vowed to destroy the rival farmer's power source as revenge. But thanks to constructing some magic symbols on his fan blades, it kept the brutes at bay, though they were so hellbent on unleashing their wrath upon him that not even death would stop them, where their ghosts haunt the field and would rise again should the magic windmill ever stop, promising to destroy it and retake their land from whomever lives on it when that day arrives. And as you can imagine, some serial tension and spookiness hypes up all terror.
Lucky for us, it's just a stone.
The monsters themselves are fairly creepy. The show modeled them off the four horsemen of the apocalypse, give them cool horror fantasy designs, made them almost primal warriors, and heck, they don't even talk. They're so monstrous that they can't even behave human anymore. As you can guess, the show builds up their menace thanks to the windmill repairs, causing the machine to go on and off frequently, as Courage desperately attempts to get these ghosts out of sight. It's simply an intense ghost story with really awesome villains as the threat, but what boosts it so high is that this episode has some gnarly action. The four horsemen truly live up to all intimidation, as they're out for blood. Luckily, it's not too dark, as in typical Courage fashion, there's grim gallows humor aplenty. The farm family get body swapped, hilariously screw up, and are running for their lives in goofy ways. This is one of the best scary stories from the show, as it blows Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow out of the pumpkin patch. It's simply an ultra creative ghost fable that'll take you on one unholy ride.
Now I'm a stupid dog.
Bet bet many of you weren't expecting to see this make the list. While Courage was more so known for its great horror and wackiness, this episode tackles the other genre the Cowardly Dog show would indulge more of in the later seasons: sci-fi. Curtain of Cruelty's a sci-fi comedy adventure, and a mega funny one. Most fans overlook this episode as nothing too special, but personally, I absolutely love it, because it's insanely hilarious. In this arc, while living their daily lives for once, the entire city of nowhere is corrupted by an energy curtain of cruelty.
He said it! He said it!
This energy field infects other life forms with a jerk virus, where they go from nice and friendly to full-on evil and nasty, where the town all become hilariously petty, obnoxious pricks who purge it up. Courage eventually learns that this toxic behavior was spread by what else? An enraged, cynical little science man full of so much hate that he's getting vengeance upon the world by making it as evil and bitter as he is. Like all rage, it stems from a grouchy little nobody who needs to make everyone else suffer so they won't feel alone in their BS. I just find it so dang hilarious how deranged everyone becomes. It's absolute night and day how everyone in the show, except Eustace, is like a total saint with a Care Bears nature before becoming a Grand Theft Auto gang of thugs. The mean-spirited comedy's just so great. Won't lie, this joke always cracks me up.
Hey, dog!
I'll have what she's having.
Most fans toss this episode aside because, admittedly, it does share some blatant similarities with another popular episode, as both feature a cynical mad scientist who feels unloved, using high tech to spread their misery on an innocent world, only to learn from the power of love. However, I think this one's great because it flies off the rails in the best ways possible. The anger issues are presented in a more simple expression, the comedy gets crazier. Eustace actually becomes mayor of Jerk City and hunts down his stupid dog to prevent him from saving the day. Muriel gets sent to Jigsaw's re-education camp. Fabric Softener saves the world. It's just so fantastic. I can't help it. The curtain of kindness sweeps over me every time I think of this underrated gem. Courage saving the world by literally being a beacon of friendliness in a cruel realm is the type of crazy epicness I've come to admire in this series. I strongly recommend this for the goofy side of Courage, because you cannot sit through this without laughing once. Funny, unhinged, creative, and super zany, this is one curtain you'll want to peek behind.
Better?
Like this!
Finally reached the titles, which cemented Courage's rep at being a show that could hit you right in the feels. The Hunchback of Nowhere is, believe it or not, a rare, heartwarming, emotional story, which revealed that this saga could have rather wholesome, sweet moments which brought these icons to life. In this episode, we follow Quasimodo, trying to find a place to stay after the horrific shame of Hunchback 2, where he's rejected and ostracized by all due to his grotesque appearance. However, you guessed it, our gentle pup brings him in off the streets where a beautiful broship blossoms. It goes without saying, but yes, the friendship they form is endearingly innocent.
Look! Stupid dog. That's better.
Despite a very simple all of the other reindeer type of arc, culminating in the classic odd friendship plot, what makes this stand out is both its lesson and the Hunchback being the first to stand up against Eustace's bullying douchebaggery, defending Courage. The lesson is your basic, beautiful on the inside versus ugly on the inside. As while he's not Phoebus hot, the green guy has a lovable, gentle soul deep down, which Courage and Muriel respect, as they can see the great man than he really is. Whereas Eustace is a hideous jerk-off because he puts him down in order to feel better about his own issues, like most bullies. It's pretty obvious that Quasimodo's the better person because who he is outweighs what he is. Plus it helps that he isn't afraid to bite back, as he accurately disses the old dick.
Well, you look like something the cow spit up.
You, sir, are extremely bald.
Speaking of which, the Hunchback instantly became a badass as he actually stands up to Eustace when he goes too far, blaming the stupid dog for all his probs, which leads to this legendary scene.
I told you to get.
What goes around comes around. You really want to see ugly? Stupid dog.
Hunchy got back. Fans adore this fable precisely because of the feel-good nature, optimistic message, charming friendship, and how kindness is more beautiful than what we see on the surface. This is such an uplifting and inspirational short that it perfectly displays how this stupid show isn't so stupid, because it tells kids that you matter no matter what you look like. Your actions and character are what define you, and not other people's judgments. Plus, got some golden comedy.
Are you bald? Yes.
I highly recommend this because it shows courage has depths of its own. As beautiful as a sparkly bell. Back into the Nightmare Room, with one of the most horrifying and hilarious top dogs. The demon in the mattress is basically a parody of The Exorcist. Tired of her lumpy old trash mat, Muriel orders a new, better mattress. From hell! Surprise, surprise, things go horribly wrong as there's a demon in the mattress.
He said it!
Where sweet, pure Muriel gets possessed by Satan, as the boys desperately try to figure out how to purge the devil.
Can one of you boys give me a hand?
Precisely like half our list, this episode's brilliant at balancing out both the warped terror and screwball hijinks. They do a pretty wicked job recreating exorcist scenes, which help Demon Muriel feel monstrously creepy. Yet miraculously, they also somehow make all this madness funny as heck. They do such a grand job at spooking us and cracking wise that you can almost never tell what you're in for. There's so many legendary moments in this tale that it's almost impossible to pick the best scenes.
Courage. Closer. Closer. It would be lovely if I could have a cup of tea.
This episode's often listed as the scariest among the saga, which it is, but I also have mass appreciation for its crazy antics. The exorcism attempts all get so goofy as both the stupid dog and stupid farmer fumble around, which leads to much delight. I would more or less describe this as Courage's family-friendly scary movie too, because the writers clearly love The Exorcist, but had vast fun parodying the iconic moments with juvenile jokes which lighten the mood. Yet there's also some ballsy moments here too, which show how Courage wasn't afraid to push boundaries. The terror does add uneasiness to all this, as we're reminded Muriel's in pain and the demon's bad news.
What have you done with Muriel?
She's here with us.
Courage, help me!
Whoops! That one slipped out.
There's a reason why this episode stuck out in memory. What more can I say? It's a product so good, it'll fuel those unpleasant dreams.
Want a tip?
Yeah, sure.
Entering the stage is none other than the first half-hour tale of the dumb dog. The Tower of Dr Galast is a different type of courage fable, albeit a rather epic one. Just like the Curtain of Cruelty, it too is about a cynical mad scientist using his genius for evil by spreading his own negative emotions upon the world which rejected him. However, the key difference is that this episode goes into way more detail and larger than life misadventures than the Curtain did. In simplest form, Dr. Galast is clinically depressed and became a mad shooter to make everyone else feel his pain, spreading his misery upon others in a vain effort to make himself feel better, only making himself worse. He invented a dark tower base where he shoots down innocent civilians with his depression balls, turning the citizens of nowhere into angsty husks. And of course, the farm family are his latest victims.
And some stupid kids parked their Jeep right in the middle of the road.
How lovely.
This tale goes 1000% on the production values. Everything's treated like a big grand epic. The animation's at high quality, the humor's more bombastic than ever, there's kick-ass action, solid writing, and most noteworthy of all is the elegant music. Courage fans distinctly walked away from this remembering the beautiful orchestra because it's so amazing. It helps that the character writing is strongest. As Courage is braver than normal, Muriel actually becomes depressed. Dr. Galast is both such a tragic villain, thanks to feeling unloved, while also a laughably evil madman. And heck, even Eustace is so funny on his own.
Muriel, what about my dinner?
I think it captures the feelings of depression and searching for happiness quite swimmingly. Dr. Z is almost somebody you feel for, as his need for love does almost make you sympathize with him, but his seething hatred also makes him a threat. Courage also gets solid moments in this, where his need to fight a literal towering beacon of dread grants him some noble heroism. At times it's so grand that this doesn't even feel like a Courage episode half the time. It almost has a movie quality with how high the stakes are. It's such great effort which I miss from Western animation, because this basic story about literally combating depression turns into this terrific battle between titans. And as per norm, there's naturally comedy gold.
I'll use your city as research, and that will make the people very unhappy.
Big deal. They're already unhappy. We just raised the taxes!
However, it too grows a feel-good, wholesome twist later, which helps resolve everything in a nice little package, showing us how a small amount of happiness can go a long way for some. It's a wondrous tale, whose magic reaches sky high. Still a better Dark Tower than Matthew McConaughey's.
Ha! I found me mallet! Hooray! Stupid dog!
You can probably tell my faves are not based on how scary they are. This is my list, and I purposefully made it open season to allow all kinds of trophies to enter without bias. So, as weird as it is for the hunting episode to make it so high up, it's for one big reason. Farmer Hunted is the most freaking hilarious tale I've ever seen. This episode's dark screwball comedy makes me laugh so hard, and amazed me with with the bizarre sense of goofy. If you couldn't figure it out, this episode follows Eustace and Courage going hunting together, as the open season triggers the old man's mental trauma due to his abusive bro always putting him down for being weak, leading to him desperately trying to prove his insecure manhood by killing some deer. However, because Courage is a saint, he befriends the local wildlife and gets caught in the literal crossfire between Eustace and animals, sharing a most dangerous game, where hilarity ensues.
A deer's gotta do what a deer's gotta do.
This tale gets so ludicrously demented that it's mega funny. They have the classical orchestra soundtrack playing over extremely stupid scenes, massive mood whiplash, Looney Tunes style hijinks, random ass insanity, Eustace getting beat up a lot, and heck, even the hunting's over the top. They're using frickin' laser beams to shoot their prey. It's pure comedy platinum. I believe this is Courage's goofy humor completely unfiltered, as they go all out on the absurdity of everything and just embrace the cartoony nature of all this. I can't help it, I love me some great comedies. This is a solid trophy of how bewildering Courage's silliness can peak. A hunt so phenomenal, it successfully hits every target.
That was truly a traumatic experience, but I'm over it.
You know it's not a true Courage list without including the man in gauze. King Ramses' Curse is an iconic, timeless classic. Everyone who's a lover of cowardly dogs wholeheartedly treasures this story. It's both one of the funnest fables, yet also the scariest. King Ramses' Curse is about a horrific ghoul trailing a hex slab of a golden sarcophagus, slaying anyone or anything in his path to get it back. The slab was stolen by a pair of cat burglars who hide the sacred artifact at the Bag Farm in order to ensure the law won't take it from them. However, they're horribly killed by our off-screen villain, which unfortunately leads to the golden jewel falling into the paws of the farm family. As you can presume, the idiot bully Eustace keeps the slab for himself to sell to the highest bidder in order to profit off the gem's sweet value. Unlucky for them, they learn the curse is very real when it happens. After some intense build-up on par with Jaws, we're all introduced to one of the creepiest monsters of the series, the spirit of King Ramses.
Return the slab.
What?
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
Holy cow, this thing was the nightmare fuel station attendant. Many generations were haunted by this ghost pharaoh. While the CGI is certainly outdated, it actually enhances the king's scariness. This is the spookiest monster Courage has ever faced. Thanks to the janky inhuman movements, the off-putting 3D look, the dead eyes of a mummy, the fact that he never stands still, and that voice. That sinister, ghostly voice.
This night you will be visited by 3 plagues, each worse than the last. Return the slab.
This dude has gone down in animation history as one of the most gruesome monsters of the show, and is a staple for the Courage fandom. He's naturally been memed and gained endless fan art because his effect left a huge imprint. But what backs him up outside of his gnarly looks is his power. This episode simply King Ramses haunting the farmhouse, demanding they return his golden slab back to him, but Eustace refusing because he doesn't believe in no magic. Where's where the magic man harms them by unleashing his curses. The bags nearly drown to death, all destroying locusts consume the farm, and the best plague, the pain of awful music.
The horror. The horror.
Even with the spookiest psycho monster present, Courage still has some jolly delight. This was the one which truly placed Courage on the map for folks. It has utterly horrifying wickedness, a ferocious monster, genuine dread, high stakes, zany comedy, the darkest Eustace fate, and a solid love for the horror genre. Almost every Courage fan loves it for how outrageous this gets, and I'm totally among them. This is a dang good story, full of so much awesomeness for older fans and even kids who love horror. King Ramsays has much to offer. Sadly, it only lost to my superior number 1.
Oh, come on.
Before we reach the moment of truth, here are some honorable mentions. Oh yeah, we're going there. My number 1 Courage tale is the infamous Mask. Do I even need to explain myself? Pretty much everyone who claims to be a Courage fan cherishes this dazzling jewel as not just a good episode, but one of the best stories Cartoon Network ever produced. What elevates this above the rest is that it tackles some dead serious themes, carries a dark, ominous atmosphere, has deep emotional drama, and surprisingly tackles some very realistic horror that infests society. But just in case there's somehow a 1% of folks who don't know, here's what makes this episode so rad. The Mask follows the farm fam encountering a creepy as hell masked woman drifting across nowhere, where Muriel takes her in because she's too nice, before the mysterious figure begins exuding a gloomy influence upon the group. With one even bigger problem: she hates dogs. The masked woman is named Kitty, a lost soul from the wrong side of the tracks, who has lost herself and wanders aimlessly. She lost her best friend recently to a vile dog of a beast, and has suffered severe mental illness as a result. The one thing we get a full grasp of is that this led to her having an unhinged hatred towards dogs, as she lashes out at Courage for no reason other than he triggers her trauma. Kitty's not even a supernatural monster, but her masked appearance is super haunting. The mask has this creepy smiling doll face to pretend she's happy. She dons long white flowing robes which make her almost ghostly. Her true form's hidden for at least half the episode, so we don't know what's under there, and she grows some bad habits, such as stalking and spying upon others to judge them, as an unhealthy method of venting out. She's so unnerving that it's genuinely shocking when it turns out she's not the real villain. Oh yes, it gets worse. The actual villain is a gangster canine named Mad Dog, holding Kitty's best friend Bunny hostage, and possibly pimping her?
And this is supposed to be a kid's movie!
This gangster dog might just be one of the most vile, vicious monsters the show ever made, because he's not just a cliche horror creature. Mad Dog's a sociopathic domestic abuser who drove Kitty out and broke her mind in order to keep his girlfriend Bunny away from friends and all to himself, under threat of violence. That's right, this kid show has a domestic abusing thug as our Courage villain.
I take you from a two-bit joint and make you a class act, and you want to make me second-rate? If I even smell Kitty, I'll bury the two of you.
Yeah, this was not afraid to go places. What makes The Mask so good, outside of the haunting hour level of edginess, is that it explores some mature themes. Domestic abuse is shown in full light. Self-worth is questioned, bigotry formed from trauma, facing your fears, projecting issues, and disillusionment with life. We learn that Kitty donned the mask because she couldn't face reality anymore, thanks to her depression, so she conceals herself in this as an armor of sorts and lashes out at others, judging their own lives. By hiding, Kitty has only grown worse, and Courage seeks to remove her since her negativity is infecting his family, by spreading that depression onto them too.
Eustace, do you think I eat too much?
Nah, the masked lady. I can fix anything.
As you can mercifully thank, Courage of course steps up to rescue Bunny in order to help the girls live happily ever after, where the show spirals into a crime drama of both the dog and Bunny desperately escaping the wicked mutt's influence, where some twisted terror and wackiness occurs. To this day, I still can't believe the show got away with all this. It blows my mind how the same tune which had a talking dog meeting Bigfoot could ascend to such a hardcore thriller about how life's hardships can ruin you and confronting your fears is vital. This is such an incredible feat for the show that it's no wonder why fans universally praise it. The Mask is the go-to example on how profound Courage can be outside of its silly slapstick and cartoony antics, because it approaches harsh topics in such a unique way. This episode had everything which made the Cowardly Dog so good, plus extra. After all these decades, it still holds up as a timeless classic on how phenomenally deep kid shows could be. There's no doubt, The Mask is the best Courage the Cowardly Dog tale of all time.
Uriel, you got a bobby pin?
And that concludes my top 10. So what did you think? Great epics? Lame picks? What are your top 10 misadventures of the pink pup? Well, feel free to post down low, cause we're out. I'm your host Catastrophe, and...
What are you doing, you stupid cat? I wanted to do the top 10 Courage episodes. That's it. Booga booga booga!
Ah!
Stupid dog!